I had no idea how to be a husband. I had no idea how to interact with a woman on that level. I had no clue.
These kind of relationships that get disturbed when we don't take the time to know what it is to sing, to know how to get close to the mic again, or to get something. Singing doesn't make it happen, or maybe.
Welcome. I have Brocky and Trina. She's cheesing. Go ahead, sis. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here.
From Where's Brunch Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
You guys got different things going on individually, but for the sake of episode 55, TuneTheFork guests, I have a unit known as Where's Brunch Podcast with Brocky and Trina. How you guys doing?
Yes, thank you for the subline there too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With Brocky and Trina. That's our official.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. That shit just felt natural. Shit.
That is it. Yes.
Thank you guys for agreeing to join. I recommend everybody follow Where's Brunch Podcast on all the social media platforms. I'm not going to spend a lot of time necessarily digging deep into all of that because I feel like we should get kind of like directly into it.
Let's go. Let's get into the mud, baby.
Okay, perfect. So as it stands now, everybody has been divorced. I've been divorced. Let me take a step back. The purpose of this conversation is to have a dialogue about marriage, love, relationships, family. That was something that popped up in one of your things earlier, one of the videos that I was watching. And I think marriage is a piece of that to it. I think it's a significant piece. And we can talk about what we agree and disagree about that. But I think, I don't think anyone is necessarily here to change anybody's mind one way or the other about what should or shouldn't be done. But just the honest conversation about our past, to the degree we can be honest, our comfort levels and all of that. And just, just talk about it.
Open book, baby.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Who's pro-marriage? You both are pro-marriage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Before we got here, I'm pro-marriage too. Before we came on, I sent you guys a list of questions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read the list of questions for you first. Okay. Hey, because you're the woman. We got to,
Ladies
do
first.
that ladies first.
Yes.
Even though we're supposed to be gender neutral and all this old shit.
Man, listen. Which
So,
list you reading first?
huh?
Which list you reading first?
I'm going to read hers.
Okay.
Mine.
I don't know if he was reading mine to you or something else.
Was there anything on that list that you feel he knows or doesn't know, or he pretty much knows everything? Or y'all talked about it?
We talked about it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about how can you not? We're like 2 years in now. Like,
So I found your answers interesting, and I want to talk a little bit more about the questions, about the answers. So the first question I asked you was, what is the purpose of marriage?
I wondered if I answered that right.
I don't think there's a wrong answer. Now, it might be wrong in regards to like what, if your first two was in line with the purpose of marriage, but okay.
Totally don't line up with what happened.
All right.
But,
So what is the purpose of marriage? I believe, your answer, I believe the purpose is a union based in love and partnership with the hopes of building a life together.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question I asked you was, why did you get married the first time? You've been married twice.
Yes, Lord.
And divorced twice. How old were you when you got married the first time?
20. How old is Jordan? Jordan is 21. So I think I was 23 or 24.
Okay, so you were 23, 24 when you got married.
Yeah, something like that.
And you had a child, one child out of that marriage.
No, I had 2 girls.
Out of that marriage.
But before we were married, Jordan was born. We got married after she was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay married in that relationship?
10 years, 8 years.
Okay.
10 years. 2002, we got married. We got divorced in 2010. Finalized in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I asked you, why did you get married the first time? Your answer was, we had our daughter and believed it was what we were supposed to do.
Yep.
There was pressure because of all the rest of our friends were doing it.
Yep.
Now, when I asked you the question, what was the purpose of marriage? Is that something you grew into understand marriage to be?
Oh, definitely. Because at 20-something, you don't know. Like, I was 5 seconds out of college.
Okay.
And 5 seconds into real life. Like, there wasn't even enough time for me to understand what the responsibility of it was. And, I mean, truth be told, we went to premarital counseling. They said, don't do it.
Okay.
The counselor said, I don't think y'all should get married.
And what made you want to go through with it anyway?
I mean, we called it off a few times, and then finally we were just like, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it.
Okay.
I really couldn't give you an answer other than we just decided we were going to do it anyway. We had already spent the money, paid for the venue, did all this stuff. I mean, literally, we had called it off like a month before. I think when there was an argument, there was, stuff. But yeah, we just pushed through in spite of, which probably wasn't a good idea.
Did the counseling after all that?
We had the counseling before that.
But after y'all paid and had arrangements and all that stuff, y'all did counseling after that or before that?
We did the counseling before that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Counseling was before everything. We were just engaged and going through trials and tribulations of being engaged with a 1-year-old and just figuring out life. And that counselor was like, I don't think I should get married.
Okay.
And we walked away from it like, yeah, we're gonna do it anyway.
That's an important piece. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Uh-huh. So the next question is, what was the cause for the first divorce? The answer, I found out my ex was cheating with women he worked with and several other women. Correct. That's hard.
That's a lot.
That's very fucked up.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And for the last question for this section is, what did you learn most about yourself from the first marriage? And you said to trust your gut. Mm-hmm. All the signs were there not to get married, and we did it anyway. And to not allow societal pressures to influence me. So that pretty much is the first marriage, why you got married, the purpose of marriage, mm-hmm. why you got divorced, and what you learned about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read your answers. Mm-hmm. For that first half too. I asked him similarly, what is the purpose of marriage? Mm-hmm. Answer, that's multi-layered. It's something we do to fulfill our duty from a cultural perspective. Mm. In that regard, it's a natural progression of dating, etc. Also, the purpose of marriage is to be faithful to a spouse in the eyes of Allah and to keep from committing sin through fornication. So in that answer, I took it to kind of imply you are a spiritual practicing Muslim. Or not, I don't want to go out, you're Muslim.
Yes.
Okay. And from that context, you do believe in the union of marriage and how that from a religious standpoint kind of like just crystallizes the union between those two people.
Absolutely.
Now, do you believe premarital sex and fornicating is a sin?
Yes.
You do. Mm-hmm. And you still sin?
We all do.
Okay, but that one, but okay. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah, I
we
sure
all
do.
said.
I sure do.
He said, I sure do.
Yep.
When the last time you said it? No, I'm just kidding.
Just a couple minutes ago, I'm sipping champagne.
Okay, so you're a religious dude.
No, I'm not very religious, but my spirituality, I used to be very religious, and then my spirituality was here, and I recognized that, and then over time, my religious practice decreased and my spirituality increased. So, but I'm very aware of those things, though, all those things. Like, yeah.
Okay. Question I asked you, why did you get married? Why did you get married the first time? Mm-hmm. Answer, young and dumb.
Ew.
Can you expound on that?
All the stuff that she said in her answer is exactly what I meant by that. There are so many signs there that it should not have happened. And
No, but why did you get married?
oh, why did I get married?
Yeah.
I was young and dumb. I thought, I was in love with this person. We were really good friends.
Okay.
That was really the key more than anything else. We were really good friends way before we even started dating and stuff like that. And then the whole distance make the heart grow fonder thing. Mm-hmm. I spent time overseas and we grew closer then. And that created the illusion that I was in love with this person. I don't think I really was. But I was too young to recognize that. I mean,
Okay.
So I think if I look back on it in hindsight, that's pretty much what it was.
How old were you when you got married?
I had to be 24, 25, around there somewhere.
Okay. And how long did y'all stay married?
Like 3 years or some change.
Okay. How long were y'all dating before you got married?
We were friends for probably dating for maybe a year or two.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. So start dating around 22.
we
You
took
knew her
long,
before. Yeah. Okay. All right. What was the cause for the first divorce? Mm-hmm. Answer, we were in a toxic relationship, fighting and arguing all the time. We had different approaches to so many things. I didn't want to raise a child in that environment. Mm-hmm. Your son is from the first marriage?
Yes.
Okay. And so was he 1 or 2 or whatever when you guys got divorced?
Yeah, he was a baby,
Okay. All right. Last question for this section. What did you learn about yourself from the first marriage? That I am a man of peace. Answer, I am a man of peace. I don't want to fight with or be malicious towards people or allow that energy towards me. So I got married when I was around 30. The woman that I was dating was 8 years older than me. I used to like older women a lot. I had mommy shit I was working on.
Did what you had to do,
Just
baby.
to be straight. We dated for about 3.5, 4 years before we got married. We got married March 24th of a year. I can't even remember the year. I left November of the same year. And then we stayed married for about 1.5 years or so after just going through the divorce and finally ending it. The reason why I got married was because I didn't want her to leave. She was ready to have kids at that age. I thought that you're supposed to get married. That's just the natural progression of a relationship. And whatever feelings you have or don't have, whether you feel like you're ready or not, that's just some shit you deal with once you get in the boat and start going forward. And I didn't realize at all, even when I was in my 30s at that time, what the fuck marriage was. When I answered the question, what is the purpose of marriage? That's a new answer. That's not the answer that I had back when I was 30 and actually did it. And I think the reason why I got divorced is because I had a skewed view on what marriage was and even what my role was in a marriage. And so I pulled that motherfucking parachute quick because I didn't have it's just what I did. The purpose of marriage for me, kind of like to piggyback on what you were saying in the clip, is I think it is a physical expression of your commitment to someone else. And I think it is something that two people do to a community in front of a community of people that symbolizes the commitment and the love that you have. It's a proclamation in a way where you're saying, hey, we're getting ready to embark on this very difficult journey. Rarely are two people doing it alone. It is a community-based thing, just as raising a kid is. It takes a village to raise a kid, a family. It takes a motherfucking village to sustain a marriage. That's something that I believe. And so, because when I think about marriage, I have to ask myself, what does a marriage get you that just dating doesn't? Mm-hmm. And I think some of the things that we were describing in marriage on like why you get married is something that you can do without being married. Like you can love somebody, you can commit to them, you can do those things without being married. And so I think sometimes we conflate what we can do outside of it. So I'll stop there. Any questions? Any comments?
You have anything? No. So when you said that, that's what you said the night that we were all out. You, myself, and Joe. And I started to put that on the answer, but I had to live with it for a little while longer. You know what I'm saying? Before I start proclaiming that. But I believe that. That's a great point, and it actually changed my viewpoint towards, like I said in the clip, towards the whole marriage thing and with like the whole funeral thing. There is an importance in the whole standing in front of your tribe and saying, this is what we are now. You know what I mean? So not everybody act accordingly, but you know, everybody act accordingly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in that. So that was profound. And it was good that you said that I got that from you. Cause it just changed because like you were saying, what is a piece of paper for me? That's in my mind. What is a piece of paper?
Yeah.
A legal document. You can't take my love for this woman higher by stamping a piece of paper. It's just not gonna work. So yeah, it's a lot of value in what you said there.
How involved were your family and close friends in the maintenance and repair of your first marriage?
Listen, let's talk about the pre part. Nobody had anything to say except for my mom. When we called it off one time, she pulled away and was like, okay, I'm not gonna support this. Y'all can't seem to figure this out. I'm not supporting this, which meant she was also pulling money from the wedding. She's like, we're not paying for this because y'all don't have it together. I didn't learn until after, when the divorce was happening, how many people didn't care for him, didn't care for the union, didn't like him, didn't like how he was treating me, all this kind of stuff. After I was like, well, how come nobody said anything in advance of?
Yeah.
You know, like how come y'all didn't come to me and talk to me and be like, girl, and this is what I think and all that stuff. I didn't hear all of the discourse until the divorce was happening.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel like, what the hell are y'all here for? Like, y'all are supposed to talk to me if you see a red flag, if you hear something, if you whatever. And in particularly to his boys, one of which is my cousin and the godfather to our daughters, and his crew of holding him accountable for his behavior. And I felt like they weren't. And I was very vocal with them about y'all see him out here in the streets and y'all not holding him accountable.
Yeah.
And that ain't cool. And then y'all see me and y'all coming to birthday parties and y'all in my face knowing the dirt that's being done behind my back and not caring for me in the way that I'm family to y'all. So that bothered me.
How was your people? How involved were they?
Very similar. I found out after the divorce that like nobody cared for her. But my parents are cool. But I think but my parents was more of how much they love me, how close they are to me. So they just kind of like maybe had a blind eye towards or didn't even see certain stuff that was happening. But my sisters, my grandmother, my aunts, and I'm not here to drag nobody or anything like that. So if she's watching this later on, you know what I'm saying, it's peace. But that's how it was. They didn't care for her. So repair wise, there was no repair efforts from anybody. You're not gonna go against what I wanted. I decided to leave that situation, so they're gonna support me. So they did.
I definitely had some girlfriends who were in the circle like, well, are you sure you really want to leave this, it's stable and your house and the money and the this and the that and all of that. And I was just like, so y'all want me to be miserable and be disrespected and just stay and just assimilate to it and make it seem normal? Because that's what the women who were in my circle were telling me, that I should just stay and ride it out and just, because I'm maintaining a lifestyle. And if I leave, that lifestyle is going to change. So I received that from the sister friends circle. College friends were like, take it or leave it. But again, I didn't really hear the true discourse until we were divorcing.
So nobody said anything to me. The thing that was different, though, is my ex-wife is Indian. She's from India. And they are very close-knit people. And one of the things that was real apparent through our process is they didn't do shit like black people do it. Like not getting your business. Like where I am now in my thoughts about it is really a result of how I saw them respond to our divorce and how they rallied and how they came together, how they were willing to be open, how they wanted it to work and got in places where my upbringing didn't make it comfortable for me to have outsiders be like that in my life. So, I'm coming up like, nah, it's between me and her. The last fucking thing that is actually true. I didn't know better about how you leverage community, because accountability is deeper than just calling somebody when you fucking around and calling them out. Like, so many things have failed in the process once you get there, that I feel the community and the proclamation, you're giving people permission to get in your fucking business when you do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you giving people permission to hold everybody accountable and to rally around so that this thing can sustain. And so moving forward, the idea that there's no way I could be cool with Brocky and we go out and I watch this nigga wild out. There's no way that could happen. 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to say that.
Right.
I just wouldn't be able to say that. Like, I see you as a genuine extension of him and vice versa. And I have to be just as accountable to you, even though we don't have the kind of connection that he and I have. Right. I got to be just as accountable to you because you are a reflection of that. Now, the challenge with that is when we get married, that's saying something different, I feel, to the group than just saying, even though I wouldn't fuck around and be cool with it, I feel like he's saying, yo, man, I want you, I invite you in on it now at this point. And I don't know, how do you guys take advice now, or how have you been taking advice outside of therapy, right? But just in terms of like your crew of people.
I mean, you're part of that. And I mean, we were forthcoming. You know what I'm saying? We talk to each other about all types of stuff all the time. So I take it very seriously. Like we've had literally like life-changing conversations. You know what I'm saying? As big or small as those changes are, they are life-changing at the end of the day. So my crew, yeah, that's how it is. Like we have, you know, when we talk to each other, we listen to each other. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of that, and she knows that. Like she compliments me about that, and admires that with the crew that I have. So yeah,
That's the thing I admire about you too, bro, because your ego, I mean, you have an ego, but you don't, it's not the kind of ego that dudes generally have between one another, man. It's, you know, we got our insecurities, we got our way of moving and all of that old kind of shit, but at the same time, a nigga's open, which is a beautiful thing, because otherwise, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Period, bro. Like it is literally the best way to live, to be yourself at all times. And then you can, you know, there's multiple layers to us, not to dive down this path, but there's multiple layers to us. So you being this version of you or this version of you don't mean that you're fronting or acting funny or acting different. You're just being you're being yourself. So you go into a job interview, you're gonna be a little different than you are when you're hanging out with your boys and whatnot, for the sake of what you're trying to accomplish over on that end, but you're still being yourself. Because at some point, you are going to have to answer to whoever you've been faking to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At some point, so whether that's a job, you get hired, and later on down the line, you're no longer friendly Jeff. You Jeff from around the way. Now
Yeah.
you Jeff from around the way.
Yeah.
And now it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're gonna in a job interview, you're gonna get my sense of humor. And you're gonna get all these things, and if you don't like that, then I don't need to be where you guys are.
Have you always had that?
No, I learned that. I don't know when that clicked. Probably when my back was against the wall at some point, because you know those moments. But I learned that, bro, and you know, and some of it comes from my dad. And just to kind of to go back a little bit, in my first marriage, I remember calling my dad. I remember where I worked. I remember where I was sitting when I went outside, because I used to talk to him, confide in him about the problems I was going through in that marriage, the fights, the arguments, and all those things. And you know, over time, we became friends more than father, son, right? So he would do the same. I'm like, bro, you're talking to me about my mom right now. But you know, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I was talking to him about, yo, man, it's this, that, and the thing. And he said, what you need to do is make a decision and go with it. That's it. And I was like, that's some profound shit. And that's what I did. So I was like,
Wow.
the last argument we had, I was like, yo, it's a wrap. That's it.
How are you with your circle?
Now it's so different because we are over 40 and they have watched me go through not once, but twice a falling apart of sorts, and me being very real and very honest with them about needing them to be honest with me, about needing the circle to communicate and be there for me, because there were some really, really dark times. I mean, the first marriage, I lost everything. My house, the sense of stability. My grandfather died at that time, who I was confiding in about everything. It just so happens I was calling him. I literally sat with him after my separation when I officially moved out and was talking to him in the hospital, and he died that day that I was catching him, just talking to him. Lost my house. I had to file for bankruptcy. My daughter went through cancer. There was so much happening at the time of the divorce that I didn't think I was gonna make it through. Like, I was like, is there anything else that could possibly happen to test me through this right now? And I was like, but I don't care. I ain't going back to that nigga.
Yeah.
I don't care. No, that's not an option. But it was just in my girlfriend's understanding, because I was very raw and I was very honest about how horrible I was feeling, how burnt out, how beat down, how exhausted, how just out of it I was. And so now when we talk, it's different, and they comment like, you guys are so happy and y'all are so, and I like Brocky and, all of that. So there's a different conversation, because from our 20s to our 40s now, a whole lot of shit has gone down where we've had to hold each other down and talk each other off ledges a few times.
Who, you in your circle?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I've kind of been, I think I was the first person in my friend circle to get married, the first person to have kids, all that stuff. I was the poster child for what not to do in many instances. Don't do this.
What do they call it?
The crash test dummy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I was happy to share it and be honest with them and be real about, just having daughters, having teenage daughters, just going through all of the phases that I've gone through. And I have some really close friends, and we've been able to talk each other through some stuff. But now, it's different now. They deep dive in his whole page. They looking early when they heard about him. Like, all right, let me go check this dude out. Let me go see if he's a yes or a no.
I ain't delete one thing when I met Trina.
They was checking. It was CIA level. They was checking. So it's different. It's definitely different.
I have a question about your situation, specifically about your daughters. Mm-hmm. How did you end a marriage with a man like that without, let me take a step back. What is your daughter's relationships like with their dad?
Oh, they're great.
It's great. Okay.
They're at his house now. Everybody's home right now. They're at his house right now.
So how did you end that relationship with that much betrayal and not project that on the daughters and still leave space and room for them to know their dad as their dad? How did you do that?
So one of the things I learned from my grandmothers, or one grandmother in particular, my grandfather had 3 children outside of the marriage on her, and she stayed with him and raised her 5 children with him while that was all still going on. I never ever once spoke ill of him to them. I never let them know what was going on. They didn't know that I was going to court, that there was, a court order for his arrest for not paying child support. I never spoke ill of him, even when he didn't come to pick them up, when he canceled his visits, when he didn't keep them for his summer times that he was supposed to. I never, ever spoke ill. And I never wanted my family, who knew what was going on, to speak ill about him in front of them, because he's still their father, number one. Whatever I had going on, whatever arguments, I would go outside, I would go on my balcony, I would close the door, I would go to another level of the house. They didn't know. They didn't know until they were teenagers that there was drama. They didn't know that there were court dates that mom was appearing at about their dad and arguing about stuff, about what he was and wasn't doing, until they were well into their teens. They didn't know. And it was my responsibility as their mother to not taint the image of their father to them. Even though I ain't like his ass, I still felt like they were owed that right. And to leave them as kids and leave them out of the grown-up shit that's going on.
You know how hard that is?
Oh, it's very hard. My blood pressure is high. Yeah, I know.
I salute you for doing that.
Thank you.
Because I don't know many women or people who do that. I think most of them get messy and let their emotions get in the way.
Oh,
and and even do like little, the thing I try to stay mindful of is that it's all energy. And sometimes it's not necessarily what we're saying, but the energy that we're projecting about. And kids pick up on that more than they do the words in some cases.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's just going to happen, right? Because you're trying to regulate and manage. And so the fact that you were still able to do that in a way that allowed them to maintain a healthy relationship with their dad is is a feat. And as a man who know people who have a different experience, you know, thank you for doing that.
It's the least I could do. I mean, I didn't want them to come from trauma, but so much. I mean, it's already that they're coming from a divorce set of parents. I didn't want to add that trauma of talking about all the drama. And I would correct my family if they asked me questions and they were in the room. I'd be like, yo, the girls are here. Talk about this later. Or we don't need to talk about this, or I'm not going to talk about this right now. Because just out of respect, I don't want them knowing all the details. Now they're 19 and 21, it's different. Now they understand. Now they realize, Mom, you were going through all of that? They didn't need to know that.
Yeah.
They just didn't need to know. There's tons of stuff that I don't know about from when I was a kid that I'm grateful that I don't know. And I just felt like they didn't need to know that. They don't need to know. They'll figure it out on their own. They'll find out later.
I think that the value in what in that decision that you made, I don't know if we really know that, as like recognize the value as adults of what you did. Like for instance, my parents, my dad I have a half sister, right? So she's 1 year younger than me. So my dad stepped outside of the marriage and they stayed together. They kept, and it was not just peace and love through all those years. But in my mind, the 80s was sunny every day. It was cold and it's snowy in the wintertime, but the summers was sunny. We were all happy all the time. And it wasn't until later that I realized how tumultuous the actual relationship was and how well they kept that hidden from us. Now, maybe my sister's 5 years older than me, so maybe she knew more, but kept it hidden from me. Yeah. And I just reflect back on that, and I'm happy that they stayed together because I could be a completely different person right now. So your daughters can be completely different right now based on the decision you made back then. And that's heavy. I was around some stuff, bro, that I walked away from. Yeah. Because of my dad's presence. So that's great.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Because why don't we stay?
What?
Why don't we stay like our parents did? Like older.
This is a different era.
Why though?
But why should we stay in?
Why should his mom have stayed?
It was a different era then.
Is it an era thing or is it just what?
Generation.
I'm asking honestly, when I think about the shit like this, or even in terms of getting into a marriage, I feel like the error answer, I'm about to start pushing back with love. So just in terms of just challenge certain. The error thing for me, I feel is a cop out to a degree. Okay. And it allows us to not sit through something long enough for the power of the universe and change and all of that kind of stuff to really take place. I feel like we cutting out way too soon when the minute of an infraction. I got a grandmother who had 5 kids by a marriage. She had 9 kids, 4 by her first husband and 5 by a married dude. The married dude, should I be talking about this? She had a side, she was basically a side chick. But the dude had a wife across the street. Like, I'm not saying any of this shit is right or healthy, by the way. I want to make sure that I'm clear. But I do pose the question, why don't we stay?
I learned from my dad. Like, my happiness, I have one life to live. And my happiness is not up for debate. So if I'm putting forth the effort to make this thing work, and the volume of pushback in this small amount of time is enough for me to be like, I got to get out of here, then I'm out. My mom stayed with my dad, but she didn't forgive him. So that lesson, the lesson I learned from that is, I don't care if it's something that I did wrong, bro. If we're gonna get through this and you're gonna forget, it has to be a genuine forgive me and we can push forward. If you don't want to move forward, then let me know that and then I'll be out. So what happened is that you stay in a situation miserable for years, and that's your life. Yeah. So I refuse to do that. My dad told me he was proud of me and he applauded me doing that. Not saying that he wanted to get away from my mom, because they still together to this day. And bless them. You know what I'm saying? I love it. You know what I mean? But he was like, he looked up to me like I was a hero when I left my first wife. You know what I'm saying? Because I just refused to be unhappy.
So,
right.
And I think that's a conscious decision that you're making for yourself, I feel. That's not based on an external factor.
No, it is too. So my first, that ended. The day that ended, she and I had a fight, an argument. We never fought physical. There's nothing physical. We had an argument about what direction the coats hang in the closet. And I'm talking about, she's from East Flatbush, Brooklyn. Like, she is all Brooklyn that you want to know. And she's a philosophy communications major in college. So she talks a lot and thinks she knows everything. And I said this to you before. And we fought and argued hard with each other. The whole time she was holding my son in her arms. There was no way I was gonna raise this child. Here's the external, because it's external for me. Mm-hmm. No way I was gonna have this be the example of what a relationship is supposed to be like to that human being that I'm responsible to putting out there on the planet.
So as a rebut to that though, you said arguing. Two people have to argue. So I think we're contributing. There are times when we are contributing to recreating like these dysfunctional patterns in ways that we don't necessarily understand. And when we feel like we have an out through the marriage, I think it makes us feel like we don't have to change. And I think it's like that for both. Now I'm challenging these things from I think the divorce card is one that is thrown way faster and easier than it should. Similar to abortion, by the way. I feel like abortion is something, I feel like people get abortions now as a form of contraception. That's just how I feel. Now, so people, whether they have rights to do it and all that, that's a different story, right?
That happens.
But the ones, I feel like it's just too much of an easy decision to be made. And when the decision can be made to do it easily like that, you don't have to start, hey, let me just use some more protection, or hey, let me be a little bit more mindful or careful who I sleep and lay down with. Because it's just easy. It's easier now.
There's a lot of factors that go into those decisions too. Go ahead.
I would say for me, it took 3 years for me to leave. It literally took 3 years. I can remember the date and the time when I knew that this wasn't going to work. And I had 2 kids under 5, and I was the single parent in a household with, trying to be supportive. He was an entrepreneur, starting his own business, doing all these things. Things are going to fluctuate. It's never going to be, all that. And for 3 years, I saw the decline happen. And even before I left, I still contemplated staying and riding it out, because everyone was in my ear about, oh, girl, y'all just built this house. You just moved here, this and that, all this stuff. And this and that, and you're able to do this and that, and the girls are doing this and that, and just all these things. And I had to ask myself, how much did I love myself? How much did I care about my health and my well-being and my safety? Because at this point, I was hip to what was going on. I was tipped off about the infidelities, and I was like, now I'm looking at my own safety, my own health, and my own safety. And at that point of 3 years, I finally said, because my family, my mom and my dad knew that I was thinking about this from 3 years ago. Like, I don't think this is working. I think I should just, and it took me that long, but I really did try because I really wanted to keep my family together for my daughters. I didn't want them to come from divorce because I came from a situation that wasn't paramount. So I don't want my kids to go through, I don't want them to go through that. So it took 3 years. And at that point, it was the last straw. And I just said, okay, I'm packing them up. We're leaving. We're gone.
Do you guys feel like people get divorced too easily now? Do you feel it's kind of like a,
maybe people get married not realizing what they're getting into, and then they pull the divorce card.
Maybe they get married too quickly.
They get married too quick, not really knowing what they're getting into.
okay.
I think some people get divorced too quickly. I think some people get married too quickly. I think there's isolated incidents, of course, it happens. But as a whole, I think people are more in tuned with in our culture. I'm speaking about our culture because I'm around my people.
Right.
I think we are more in touch with the universe, more in touch with our existence in it, and more in touch with how energy flows. All these different things that weren't even talked about on this scale back then. I think we're more in touch with these things and knowing how to make ourselves happy and recognizing when you're not yourself. You're being forced to step out of who you are. And that's not something that you're going to put up with.
Yep.
Your answers about what you learned most was shocking. It stood out to me, I'd say.
Really?
Because I felt like it was, because now we're talking about responsibility. And I think I want to kind of go to that piece.
Do it.
Yeah.
What did you learn most about yourself from the marriage? That I am a man of peace. I don't want to fight with or be malicious towards people or allow that energy towards me. So that's what you learned most about yourself in the marriage.
Yep. That marriage, because like I said, it was constant, bro. We had good times too, of course, but it was so much. I don't argue with people. I don't get into arguments with people. I don't fight with people. Argument is one thing. Disagreements is one thing. I don't fight with malicious intent with anybody. I don't want that kind of energy. And that was a constant in that relationship.
Before you got married?
The spiciness was there before we got married, but the living together and then the marriage, which kind of were lumped in pretty quickly, that was when it really escalated. When you in a room with somebody and however many walls, 4 walls, you're gonna find out. Sound bounces off walls. Things about energy is gonna bounce around. You're gonna get it all. It's gonna be all over the place. So that's when you learn, for real.
Because your answer sounded, I heard, whether it was directly or indirectly, that there wasn't it didn't really describe the role that either of you necessarily played. And I got the feeling that there was no participation from the individual side in regards to how things came out to be that way. Because if you say that you're a dude that doesn't like peace, or that wants peace, we still, we're getting triggered in these things with these people. And I think sometimes we can say that the person triggering us is the source, when really it's not them that's necessarily the source.
Well, I can say for me, I definitely know I wasn't myself in that relationship. The person that I became to become his wife was not the same person that I was circa 1999. I was, I was a party girl in school. I'm not even gonna joke about it.
In the streets.
I was in the streets. I was here in Northwest. I went to Howard and I partied, and we were introduced in a way. I met him at a club, like type of situation.
Same.
Yeah, I met him at Republic Gardens, literally. And I wasn't interested then. And then it was like a circle back later, and we just kind of vibed and it worked, whatever. But I changed as a person to be in that relationship, and I wasn't being myself. I was very unhappy to live in suburbia. It was miserable for me to live way out in Woodbridge, West Bubble, whatever. And I'm used to being in DC, in Northwest, running the streets. Now I got a kid and I'm way out. I didn't have too much of a problem with the domesticated parts of things. I love to cook. I love to bake. I love to do stuff for the kids. I loved having the birthday parties. I loved all that stuff. But I just felt like the partnership that was there wasn't to what I wanted. And I didn't speak up and voice enough that I was displeased. But I knew that I was displeased before I married him, and I still went ahead and married him.
Okay. Hence the trust your gut. Because when I asked you, what did you learn most about yourself?
Trust my gut.
So,
yes. I knew.
But you changed.
I changed. I did. I morphed. I coalesced.
Why would you do that?
Because I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
The societal pressures.
The societal pressures of you have this baby. Y'all have this baby now. What y'all gonna do?
Go get a big ass house.
Go get a house. Go live out West Bubble somewhere where you know you don't want to live, and do all the things that you really not necessarily are ready to do at 25 years old, and be with a person that you're not necessarily, it wasn't there. And that's that. I hold myself accountable for not speaking up early enough and just walking away with the child and understanding that, okay, it might be a little bit difficult for me, and that I can't really worry about being judged about being a single mom.
Because when you say to trust your gut, here's why I'm going to add a bunch of shit after that.
Okay.
Trust my gut, because I knew that nigga wasn't shit anyway. Right? And like you're saying, I'm a man of peace, but this motherfucker over here yelling all the goddamn time, and I don't like yelling. So the things that you're saying you've learned about yourself is kind of like, it's like when you it's kind of like when you go to, when you have a interview and they say, tell me a weakness, and you actually make a strength a weakness because you don't want to, it's just shit that you learn. Tell me something, I work too hard. And it's like, when I focus on something, it's just like, I'm a pit bull. I can't stop. I'll be up until 10 o'clock at night trying to get this resolved. I felt like that was, I don't know what that means.
Let me expound on mine.
Okay.
James, it wasn't because, I'm not trying to sit here and say that she's a bad person. She's my son's mom, and she is happily married right now. They have a beautiful child together, and they seem to make a great union. Those two pieces of the puzzle, you put those together, him and her, that works.
Yeah.
It seemed to work. Me and her, she and I together did not work. I'm not saying it just didn't work. I was young and dumb. I said I was young and dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got married because I was young and dumb, and I was still young and dumb during the marriage. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of decisions that, if placed in that type of environment today, that will be able to navigate that a different way, maybe make it work, so on and so forth, whatever. I know how to, deal with a woman or how to deal with a man much more now than I did back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those ingredients, her and me, put them in a pot together, and it's not a good look when put in a shot glass, but that combination on a plate with some other stuff might work out.
Yeah, I feel you.
We've raised a brilliant child together who is now, you know what I'm saying, doing great out here in the world. So there's a lot of upside to what we had, but working in that kind of environment together wasn't a good look.
And again, I didn't hear you say, by the way, I want to make sure that I'm clear, that you were saying what I think I was looking for from that answer of what you guys learned about yourself is something that you kind of like either didn't know before or that was revealed in the process of taking stock and inventory of all of what was going on, and that kind of like led up to it. So I think what I learned most from my marriage was how scared I just am in general with shit. And I didn't know how much I played games before that divorce. And I was like, damn, I'm really full of shit. Like at a high level full of shit. I was so used to playing games and bullshitting that it didn't really come out until I started like going to therapy and talking about shit and why did I do this and why did I make this decision to go over here and you know, all of that old kind of stuff. It was glaring to me post marriage just how full of shit that I was.
This happened immediately after your divorce. You had this.
Nah, it
realization, or
was.
This was way after.
It was about so maybe around like. So we got married when I was 30, and we got technically divorced. Y'all know where Herndon is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We went to the lawyer, signed the divorce papers. I walked from the clock tower of Herndon to DC, down 66. And I spent that whole day, that whole time walking back, just contemplating. I was like, I gotta get my shit together. I gotta get my shit together.
Oh, you wild, son.
Like, this is crazy.
They let you walk on 66? Nobody pulled you over?
On the side. Yep, I just
Nobody pulled you over.
No, nobody pulled me.
Nobody-
I got you, yeah. So it was after the, so it's probably around like 2 years, because we had about a year and a half go by of doing it,
Yeah.
of going through the divorce, who gonna keep
Separation.
what and blah, blah, blah and all that shit. And yeah, that's what I learned most about me out of that scenario. I didn't necessarily do anything about it per se. Because fear very much still dominates a large part of my life, and I have to be mindful of how I'm responding, or how the fear is showing up. But back then, it was just something I was really fucking blind to.
I mean, if you want to, I didn't answer the question in the context you just stated,
Yeah.
right? But if you want to answer the question in with the whole accountability umbrella, right? Is that I had no idea how to be a husband. I had no idea how to interact with a woman on that level. I had no clue. You know what I'm saying? And this is me, I had just taken my Shahada I just became Muslim right before we got married because I was in Kuwait. And when I was in Kuwait, this is when I embraced Islam, right? So when I came back, I went to a conference and her stepfather gave me my Shahada. Shahada is your declaration.
Okay.
Shahada is what we were kind of talking about. You're standing in front of your tribe saying, this is what I am, right? First, she was born Muslim, right? So, funny enough, there was no influence. She handled that really well, like a G. No influence from her for me to be Muslim ever. I had to go to Kuwait, military, and then I learned about it. So here's this fresh Muslim. We gotta pray 5 times a day. We gotta go to the masjid. We gotta do all these different things. She like, I'm not waking up at 5. Not to put her business out there, but we all did it. I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to pray. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And I'm like, well, we gotta do that. You know, God says we have to do it. I was gung ho.
Because you was newbie.
I was a newbie.
Yeah.
I was a newbie, son. You know what I'm saying? So that's a recipe for destruction. We go back to the marriage, the day we got married in the masjid in Brooklyn. And when Imam Siraj was her stepfather, when he said, you know, He looked at me. He said, you know, whatever the vows were, you take, you know, this. It's not like traditional, but. And then he went to her and he used that key word, be obedient.
Submit.
No,
Oh,
obedient. Right? Which is a contextual word. You know, it depends on how you use that. She did this. It was all back then. That shit manifested.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
If you could go back with a quantum leap, go back and say and relive that moment, you get up and walk out because that's gonna be the case. But I would never do that because my son is here. I would never do that. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So yes, I had no clue. It was a recipe for disaster, man. I was like, yo, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. That's not how you deal with things.
So I think that's huge to just some of the shit I think you got to grow into, especially when you making those decisions to do it early like that. And when you and you had your dad and all of that, but it's thank you for sharing that piece of it.
Yeah.
Because to me, I don't think that there was any wrong answer. I think it just depends on where your brain defaults to for a response.
Yeah.
And if that was where the default is, because my default is always accountability. Is always owning my shit. Like that's my, not to say that's not y'all's, but it's just how I'm wired to like answer questions. Like I would never speak ill of my, not everything I'm saying ain't coming out right, but do y'all count? This will sound fucked up. Do y'all count y'all first marriage?
Absolutely. I have 2 beautiful daughters, and sometimes we have to all get together for functions, and he's present, and we just make it work however we do. We say what's up, we nod up, and keep on moving.
And when I say count, by the way, obviously it happened, right? But so when you guys were on your thing, you said we've been married twice, as if everything we said about our first marriage between all 3 of us, and forgive me if I'm speaking on behalf, I can't imagine it working. Like, and that's not a fault of marriage.
Right,
That's a fault of 24, 30-year-old motherfuckers not knowing what they doing, being extremely ill-equipped for a task.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I definitely feel like my second one didn't count though.
Oh.
And my first one counted, just to answer the question.
Yeah. Well, my first one counted. My second one didn't count. Even my kids say that.
So you guys, I don't count mine like that.
How many years?
I think I just learned today that he was married.
Yeah.
I don't count it.
Oh wow.
Because that should not count as marriage to me. What I did shouldn't even count. Why I did it, how long I was in it for.
Months, right?
This month.
Yeah.
Bigger than old.
Like, I didn't even try. I didn't even think about doing it. That shouldn't count as a negative on marriage. Like based on what I did, why I honestly did it. So when you ask somebody, why do you get married? I didn't want her to leave me. That's bullshit.
Bro, none of it is a negative.
It's all experience.
Yeah, none of it is a negative. Like that, if I didn't meet her at the Ritz that night, become friends, get married, have a child, all those things, I would have never met Trina. Like those, all everything that's happened in my life. That's the way I look at it, at least.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened in my life has led up to this moment, me sitting with y'all right here, right now.
Facts. Yep. I was in Florida and came back.
I know. It's I know the answers. You know what I'm saying? I know that.
Y'all did y'all tried, I feel. Like y'all y'all first one was a legit.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah, like
touche.
I can't. I feel you. I'm not gonna say it's weird because she's a beautiful. it's so crazy talking about marriage and divorce because you're automatically including another person's business in it. And I think it's important to be mindful that when we're, to be mindful that when we're speaking, it's really just, it's our purview. It's our feelings. It's why and it's not a knock on anybody else and whether something failed or whatever. It's just, you know, our side. And I think the reason why I wanted to talk about it is just to hear people just talking about marriage, like failures and shit, like how you persevere.
And to be an overachiever, I understand that I am. And for me to have failed twice at it, let me tell you, that is the hardest thing. To be an overachiever, perfectionist, used to being the best at everything that you're doing, and to fail at that, the way you beat yourself up, the internal conversation that you have with yourself about the failure is enough in of itself, right there.
Is that why our relationship is so great?
That's why our relationship is so great. Because literally, I am a perfectionist used to being the best at everything. And to deal with that and go to therapy and bang that out and talk through that and understand it. And like I said, a lot of Florida water and submerging myself in the ocean to just let the shit go. It takes a lot.
So you mentioned something about your second marriage, and I want to get to the second one.
Yes.
You don't count it?
Nah, we don't count it because it really didn't last. So we got married in February. By November, we were separated.
Some of my shit, like one of my moves. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. So ask Trina, why did you get married the second time? I honestly thought I was in love. It was the complete opposite of my first marriage. I thought it made sense. I would not have thought that based on what you just said.
Yep.
How could that feeling have taken such a turn in fucking 9 months?
You know, how many years did I know him for? I think I knew him for 2.5, 3 years or whatever. And I didn't realize that I didn't really know him until we got married and moved to another state, and then stuff started happening, and you know, I found out he really didn't like me.
That's a real thing.
He really didn't like me. Like, for real, he didn't like me. He didn't like me. We don't speak. We have no communication whatsoever. He really did not like me, and he let me know.
I honestly thought I was in love.
Because he was so loving and caring and overbearing and all of these things that my first husband wasn't. And I'm coming from a place of trauma. I'm coming from a place of feeling discarded, feeling abandoned, trying to recover, all of these things. And then here comes this man who loves me, who helps me, who takes out the trash, washes the dishes, cooks for me, you know, not wines and dines so much, but just very attentive. My friend said he was a bum and he was just trying to get paid off of me, but I didn't really see that. I just thought he was really attentive and loving and caring, and yeah.
What did you learn most from that? Your answer: pay attention to signs and insecurities early and walk away.
Yep.
And that's what you learn most about yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, let me bring in your shit real quick, because I got questions about that. Why did you get married the second time, Brocky? What was your answer?
I don't remember my answer, yo.
Love.
Same type of shit.
Wow. We said the
I knew it was
same
around the same
thing?
thing, yeah.
What was the cause for the second divorce? The relationship lacked affection, intimacy, and more. I was extremely unhappy, and that was unacceptable. What did you learn most about yourself from the second marriage? That I refused to be unhappy. Now, how long were you married? You pulled a James. How long were you married?
Second marriage was 6.5 years.
Okay.
6 of those years, after 6 months is when I when things. So I went through 6 years of trying. You got out of there. Well, yeah, whatever happened, I went through 6 years of trying to make that shit work, bro. Tried. I ain't pulling James, man.
That's rare. Trina and I are in rarefied air.
But I mean, we tried to fix it at a moment, and then he just left. He just disappeared. He just straight up left me, and I didn't know where he was anymore. He just left, and then it was just okay. Well, I guess this is done. And then I moved back and filed legally I started the process in Florida, but I wound up moving back to Virginia and I filed for the divorce. Never heard from him, never showed up, never said anything.
Do either of y'all see a pattern in the stuff that we're talking about?
Well, I didn't know we both had that answer. We thought
similarities right there.
Yeah.
The pattern the pattern that I'm seeing is that based on the failures of our first relationships, there were way fewer boxes to check for the other folks on the second relationship, and there were lessons not taken from the first relationship on both of our behalf going into the second relationship.
Okay.
That's based on what both she and I have said sitting here today. I noticed that.
You're big on being happy, bro, and peace.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to. Your thing is trust.
Yeah.
What has it been your biggest fight since y'all been together for 2 years?
We haven't had one.
We haven't had one
We
yet.
haven't had one yet.
Anything that you guys have seen that as a flag?
I haven't seen any red flags in Trina yet.
I don't close the kitchen cabinets.
Yeah.
Is it something that's like a absolute pet peeve to where like you're like, oh, this might?
I mean, to be completely honest, in the beginning, I was like, I told Joe, I was like, yo, like real early on, like, yo, I don't know if I ever lived with Shorty if she got that damn dog, yo.
I knew the dog was
So the dog is
The dog was a thing for me. But then, and it's not necessarily just her dog.
It's any
but
dog.
It's the dog, because I've had dogs.
Okay.
And, then I lived the dog lifestyle, and I lived the no dog lifestyle. And I'm like, it's no dog and no kid and no dog lifestyle time. And then let's add on all the other shit. But this is really lighthearted right now because it's a non-factor at this point. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this nigga gonna be around, so it is what it is.
Do you feel you're making a lot of concessions so that you can be happy?
Nah.
So everything just feels natural.
Yeah, we good. Like Trina, she's fantastic. Like all of the things that I like, we connect on so many levels, yo. Like hip hop, hip hop is my life, right? So to connect on that level, I told you, I don't even know if I told you this. I was like, sometimes I feel like she might be lying to me. There's no way she knew that sample came from this song. But she be knowing shit.
Oh, you know samples?
Yeah, she be knowing samples.
Hip hop. My dad used to DJ when I was little. I listened to hip hop. I listened to Red Alert. I listened to the original rap stars from Long Island, Eric B.
knows, B.
Eric B. I loved hip hop. That's all I grew up in.
And I wasn't literally saying she's lying. I was just joking.
I got you.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, we connect on a lot of levels now. I've met people in my life, older folks that I've talked to that said, just a couple that said that them and their spouse have never had an argument. And I remember them saying that. I remember one of them was at that job that I told you I sat outside of and called my dad. And he said he and his wife had never had an argument. He was up in his 60s then. And I didn't know that was possible. And I'm not saying that we never will,
right.
But we haven't. And it's not an effort, because I'm not into that.
Ayana Gregory said that she never seen her dad and her mom argue. They were married for over 60-some years. She said she had never seen them argue one time.
Wow.
I don't necessarily think not arguing is a good or bad thing. I think when I think about sustainability, like long term, I'm always curious to see how I disagree. And people say, hey, how do you guys get along? I want to know how we fight too. I want to know, like, when those triggers are triggered, what does that reaction look like in that other person? And what does that look like in me? And how much do I feel like I'm adjusting at the sake of peace? And not to say that that's wrong, but for 2 years and you guys haven't had anything like that, and for that other stuff to be so present in the other relationships.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you said you want to see how a person fights. Is that just because it's a woman? And that might sound crazy, but I'm asking.
Nah, dude too.
Dude too.
Yeah.
Because I've never had fights with Joe. I've never had fights with Donnie. I've never had fights with Dex. I've never had fights with my closest friends. It's only a very small amount. And we've been friends I'm 47. You know what I'm saying? Me and Dex been friends when we was 5 years old.
I can see and fight might not necessarily be the best word. How do you respond when you triggered? That's probably a better word.
Okay, I can dig that.
So that's probably a better phrase rather. So I got homeboys. My best friend, me and him may never argue, but I have had homeboys arguments with people. But just because we argue don't mean we ain't cool. But if we arguing, motherfucker, are you flaring up like you want to fight? Are you talking about my mama? Are you talking about you ain't gonna pay me money back that you owe me? Like whatever it is, let me just see how does that, show up? And
we haven't. There hasn't.
Yeah, I don't know if you might have had triggering moments that I don't know about. I don't know.
Yeah,
There hasn't. I mean, if we ever had to have a conversation about anything,
we
have it.
Is that because is that normal in y'all relationships?
I'm very non-confrontational. So in the past with the relationships that I was in where they were confrontational like that, I couldn't do it.
Let's not get it twisted. Trina's spicy though. I've seen her on the phone with some airlines and shit, and some people who don't do what she needed to do. And she let them have it.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's doing it for the sake of peace, as he's saying.
Yeah.
I know I'm not. So the spice is there.
Yeah,
but yeah, why not live in peace, man?
Yeah.
We haven't had to have a fight yet.
No, there's nothing.
Like there's nothing.
There hasn't been anything.
So when you made the statement, because here's what I was thinking in the email, in the post. We will do whatever it takes. What was the phrase? Let me see if I can go back and look.
We will always put the effort into making things be what we want them to be.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm assuming that was said in the first marriage, to some degree.
Not for me.
Not for me.
Okay. I'm assuming that was said in the second marriage.
No.
So y'all got married twice and never said that I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make this work.
No.
I felt that because in the second marriage I stayed married for 6.5 years, and like I said, things went south within 6 months. So but I didn't know how to do it. Like I thought, well, let's go buy a bigger house and let's go get a dog and let's go get another dog and let's do all these things and shit. I still didn't have the knowledge. Like that piece that I said in that, what I said in that piece is recent knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
So, but that's marriage. The thing that you described that you're going to do is what marriage is. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we missed that.
But we didn't do it.
No.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
No, we didn't.
So how can we count it?
Duh, son.
Because
I mean, don't get me wrong. Y'all got living human beings walking around with social security numbers and shit. I'm not, so.
Because you learn something.
Because here's the case for marriage. from my standpoint, what we're calling marriage is not a practice of marriage. It's a practice of something else, maybe conditional agreement. When you make a statement with somebody that says, we're going to do whatever it takes to make it work or to solve a problem, that's marriage. Now, that might not necessarily be what we did in our marriages for whatever reason. Maybe we didn't know what the purpose of it was, or maybe like the answers that we gave, none of them really reflected back to what we feel like our purpose of marriage is, really, for the most part. So I think if we, because you said we've both done it twice. Well, did you though? Maybe you're going to say yeah. And I agree. I'm not going to take anything away from it.
Yeah, it was something.
I think this might be some form of the highest, based on what you're saying. If you're saying these things weren't present in the first two, because when I heard it, I know y'all don't have no issues. Mm-hmm. But my case is for marriage. Mm-hmm. It's for what this thing stands for that we're just so loosely getting in and out of.
Yeah. Okay.
And everybody has legitimate reasons for why they leaving. Legitimate, you know. But we're entering into the joints with a framework with metrics that aren't even designed to like really make it work.
Bro, you don't know. You don't know.
And it's not like our elders are helping us with getting through it. They're not giving I don't know if there's not a marriage toolkit per se, but what I've watched from marriages in my family, I mean, for those who stayed together, it hasn't exactly been the recipe for success. And there's an open dialogue of this is, you know, do you think about this? Have you tried this? Are you considering this? Are you thinking about that? Those conversations, they're not happening.
What has stood out to me, I think, more than anything, is how we're calling it marriage because we got up and went through the process of getting married. The kids are beautiful. Obviously, we wouldn't change any of that. But I don't feel like what we're describing as marriage now, having done it and having, I don't feel like those.
You might have, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a point, right? Because a marriage is a relationship, right? At the end of the day, it's a relationship. And let's take it further and say it's a relationship on a romantic level. Let's just use the word romantic. It might be a better word.
Okay.
Romantic level. There's people, I don't know how many boyfriends you may have had from, you know, whenever you started trying to be fast. I was in sixth grade for me, right? Girlfriends, girlfriend. They all failed for particular reasons, whatever those reasons were. Mm-hmm. These are all just relationships.
Yeah.
At any point, one of those, depending on what culture you're talking about, not ours, but any point, one of those relationships going to turn into a marriage. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, this relationship that I'm in, wow, this might be enough for me to stand in front of my tribe and say, this is what we're doing. A couple years later, I was wrong about that. Another relationship happens. You meet people. That's not worthy. Here's another person. Wow. You know, she's not all these things that my first marriage was. She's not, this is not that. This is this. It's you know, then you might ignore some red flags and shit. And you might, you know, whatever. Let me stand in front of my tribe. 6.5 years later, well, you know, some good times, some bad times, but that wasn't it. It just didn't last the test of time. And this is relationships, bro. You and I are always gonna put effort into making this be whatever we want it to be. It's just a relationship. You just happen to be a male and she's a woman that I interact with on a different plane than I interact with any other human being on this planet. And that's it.
But it relates, so I hear what you're saying, and I agree with the exception. A marriage is different than a relationship, though. And I think that everything that we've been describing relationships that just so happen to have a certificate of marriage. Like what your parents have, bro, that's a fucking marriage. Now, I know we're talking about different eras and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know how people can have 3 kids outside and still make that shit work. You know what I'm saying? But whatever your mom and dad had to muster up, to persevere through that, your mom probably would have been well within her right to just bounce out.
But does it mean that you have to suffer while you're in marriage?
So the suffering is an individual decision. At some point in time, his mom, I'm not speaking for, at some point in time, his mom had to say, I have to take responsibility for my own feelings. I made this decision. I chose to stay in this shit for whatever reason, and I'm not gonna be miserable for the rest of my life, even though I made a decision to do this. So every now and then, I might look over at that nigga and feel a certain way. Every now and then, when this half brother call or sister call, I might feel a motherfucking certain way, even after 40-something years of this shit already happening. But she stayed, and so I feel like a part of it is owning the perception of what suffering and disappointment and all of that kind of stuff is, and use that. The people who they are today, I don't feel like they would have been those people without persevering through. There's something about that fire. There's something about that discomfort that we throw the towel in at a certain point. Now, again, I know I'm painting with a broad brush, but I feel like when the option of divorce is available, I feel like it makes we give up a lot sooner than what I feel like we should. And there's room for a divorce in any situation. I feel like as people, we give up a lot sooner. We got into these joints that we didn't really know what the fuck we was doing. We calling it marriage, and then using that as the framework of what marriage is, and whether or not, like, this might be the healthiest relationship you guys have ever been in.
Haven't I said that?
And so the negative ones prepared you for it, and they were necessary. But maybe you guys are at a point now in your lives where you can actually come together in the ways that really truly reflect what a marriage is and stands for in a way that you haven't before.
I mean, there's a lot of life lessons that we've learned through both of our paths. And so when we came together, it was just like, look, this is what it is. I've been divorced twice, and I was so happy when he shared that with me, because I was like, oh, so he gets it. Mm-hmm. He totally gets it. There's not much that I have to explain, because he's been through it too. He knows and he gets it. And that was a different starting point for both of us than any of the other relationships.
Go ahead.
What is divorce?
What is it?
Yeah.
I feel like divorce is an acknowledgement that you are no longer committed. It's like being in a car and choosing to get out.
Okay. So how does that differentiate from wanting to remove yourself from any situation in life? What is that because of you standing in front of your tribe and saying, this is what we are? Is that the heaviness?
It's the commitment. I feel like, especially when you get married, you don't know where it's going to go. You can't know. because there's another person. And when you do that, you basically say, I don't give a fuck where we're going, to a degree, in terms of having a clear vision on what the outcome is. You just know that you're connected to this person in pursuit of bringing whatever that future state is, no matter what it is.
But everybody gotta be on the same page about that.
So in this, these are new metrics that 40, 50 years, you're not gonna always be on the same page. Y'all unique, right? Y'all ain't even argued in 2 years. I already started, I got buttons and all kind of shit. So I'm a walking fucking button. So, but you veer. Who you are today may not necessarily be the person that you're going to be at 55 or at 60.
Absolutely.
So how do you plan for that? How do you look today? Like, me and my woman gonna get married. So I'll be 46 in a couple months. What am I gonna look like at 56, at 66? I think I'm gonna know, but do I really? And if I don't, and what if I change? Do I leave? What if she changes? Does she leave?
Nah, I mean, not necessarily, bro.
Everybody you expect to grow and change.
Right, and then when you're in this union, we're already in it.
Yeah.
Y'all are already in it.
Yeah.
Right? What you're gonna eventually do, according to our definition that I agree with that you laid down, was that you're gonna let everybody know that this is our union, this is what we're doing going forward, and now I'm involving you guys.
Yeah.
Right? But you guys already have the union, so your growth is gonna be together. Y'all, your growth, your trajectory changed once you decided that this is the person that I'm gonna be with. Your trajectory changed, bro. Like, you can grow into a whole. If you never met her, if I never met Trina, to speak for myself, I never met Trina. Who knows where the fuck I would be right now, or where I would be 5 years ago could be completely different than where I'm going to be 5 years ago now that I'm with her.
So what if she changes?
We gonna be changing
It's
together, bro.
expected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
those things
expected that
But
way.
that's
intertwined.
so when we're saying you got to be on the same page, somebody has to. There's a constant state of acquiescence to a
Maybe
degree.
what I mean by the same page is the same page in relation to respect, in relation to honoring each other's feelings and values, and recognizing that I'm not going to step out on you in this relationship.
But what if you do?
That's something you got to deal with.
That's something you have to deal with.
It's not promised, right? I think we do the best. Obviously, we've had life experiences which give us opportunity to evaluate things with in a broader manner. But none of it is like guaranteed.
None.
Zero.
None.
And I think that's a part of the fucking beauty of the marriage. Because it's not guaranteed. It would be so much easier to get married, bro, if you could guarantee all of this shit.
Of course.
Nothing is guaranteed, but it can't be guaranteed. But we've got to understand. I think we understand that we're not gonna step out and be out here in the streets behind each other's backs.
Yeah,
It's just something that we're not gonna do.
That's a commitment that we're making to each other.
Yeah.
I got you.
Period. We've never even uttered those words to each other.
Yeah.
That's the commitment that we've made to each other.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably more for other people because we are at a different point in our lives and shit, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're 30,
30.
25, having these conversations with people, and people are professing what they never gonna do and how they never gonna do it and this and all that kind of shit, right? I think we can say it with a little bit more, with a little bit more certainty than a 25-year-old us, maybe. But
25.
the purpose is the same, though. If you're going to get married,
But you don't know what
You
you're doing.
mean like the intentions?
yeah.
You have those-
What do y'all tell y'all kids about marriage?
Don't until you're like please have some life living, some life experiences. I want my daughters to live abroad. I want them to finish your degrees, go out, establish your careers and yourselves before you delve into something as serious as a marriage. Yes, you can date. Yes, you're gonna break up. Nothing is solidified. You are too young right now. Live a little and experience life. That's what I tell them. I mean, both of them are like, I ain't getting married, Mom. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But that's what I tell them. I don't speak ill of marriage. I tell them I still believe in love. I think that it's possible for everyone, but that they need to take their time and really get to know a person and understand, where they are in themselves before they can be with somebody else.
How important are your emotions how important do you feel emotions should be in a decision to get married?
It's more than emotions, because you're looking at lifelong commitment, you're looking at financials, you're looking at business agreements, you're looking at all these things. There's so much more than emotion. Love ain't gonna just do it.
But that's a 40-something-year-old.
46-year-old answer. But I want to bestow that on my 20-something so that they understand that it's more than just, oh, I'm in love and all this stuff. And that ain't gonna do it.
I didn't talk to Taj about marriage. He's for one, at his age, he's way more advanced than I was at his age.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think that's attributed to?
Just the path that has been laid. I can't give myself any credit for that shit. I don't know, but I know there were some decisions that I made, and his mother, of course, with raising him, and I just try to give him knowledge, you know what I'm saying, and have him be a good person and help him see where he could have made a better decision here, or he could have made another decision here or there, and so on and so forth. I can't tell him. I just didn't feel like I could tell him anything about what he should or shouldn't be doing at his age. Mm-hmm. I can't, because.
But they're watching us.
They are watching us, and hopefully he learned and whatnot. Well, I also didn't force Islam on my son. I didn't make him do a bunch of those things, because I understand that resentment is a real thing. So when you force a person or influence a person a certain way, that they can get resentment and resent the very thing, and do it anyway, or do something else, do the opposite just to spite. That I'm kind of going off a little bit, but
nah, you good.
I just didn't want to. I didn't really think about it too hard, but just continue being the person that you are. He's such a great person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put out good energy that's gonna come back to you, type of thing, and when it doesn't, you'll be able to easily identify it because of how good of a person you are. And that, you know what I'm saying? You gotta believe in those things and whatnot, and find your path, because my experiences ain't gonna necessarily impact, or I can't put my experience and say, well, don't do this because this happened to me. Right. I don't mean it's gonna happen to you.
I tell my godson to really check his emotions, man, and to not let that shit drive his decision making. Like as a young person, so much of what I did, I mean, even now as an adult, like, sometimes I feel like a fucking emotional wreck. I think I can regulate better now, like as an adult. But like when I was younger, man, so many of my decisions were based off of emotions, mainly fear. And when you're making an emotional decision about marriage that's from a position of fear, that is like a recipe for divorce. Absolutely. And sometimes fear can be masked as love, and it's very difficult to discern between the two sometimes, because in the ways in which we love, they kind of hide. Yes. And that's the piece that I think you kind of got to do the internal work, and just listen and fuck up and get shit right and wrong as you move through life, so you as the individual knows the difference between the two.
I do not knock you for doing your due diligence. With your nephew, you said? With your nephew.
Godson, my bad.
I'm sorry, godson. I do not knock you for doing your due diligence. What that does, what that sets up, you giving him that information, it sets it up for you to say, I told you so. Because love trumps all that shit. When you think you in love, all that shit people told you, you know what I'm saying? It be trumping all that shit. And you gonna push forward.
And that would be what he won't do is get married and me not have a fucking conversation with him.
There you go.
What he ain't gonna do.
What's not gonna happen?
What's not gonna happen is you just.
I'm with you there,
So
bro.
and because to your point though, our job is to plant seeds.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
The universe, life experiences, time makes that seed grow, but you just got to plant it with love. And sometimes asking a question is the form of planting a seed. And so I want to empower him to make the best decision that he can, understanding that even when it isn't the best decision, it was the best decision. And to be able to just move and roll with the punches. But at least start to, man, if you moving from your emotions all the goddamn time, you're gonna be fighting motherfuckers. You're gonna be getting taken advantage of. All of them are life lessons you can learn from, right? I guess, so to speak. But what is the cost? And as you get older, mistakes cost more because you don't have as much time. And so I can't keep making the same kind of mistakes I was making at 30, at 25. You know, I should have been making them kind of joints a lot earlier, you know.
I mean, my girls, they've watched me go through everything. And so our conversations are different because they've watched me, they've seen me down and trying to hide it and all those things. And so there is more transparency with them about just how I'm feeling and what I'm going through and not hiding it because I don't want them to have this, what's the word? Is myopic the word? I don't want them to have this view that's unrealistic. I want them to be able to understand, yes, mom, you know, worked through this and worked through that and she's good still, you know, after all of it. But I want there to be that open level of discourse because if they are in situations, I want them to be able to ask me for some sort of guidance and for them to talk it out and work it out before making a life-altering decision.
And I want to say something. One thing I want to be, as I got it on my mind. Women who stay with their husbands for stepping out are not weak women. They're some of the most strongest women God has ever motherfucking created. If a man stays with a woman who stepped out and had a baby and he's raising that motherfucking baby, that is not a sign of a weak man. Some of the hardest things that we're doing on a regular basis and we're seeing demonstrated, we're calling weak. And it's not weak. You gotta be a strong, fortified human being to do a lot of this shit. And I wanna make sure that I'm clear with your moms, bro. And with that story. Cause I see it as the exact opposite. I wish more people knew you can't hide a baby, right? Not if you're doing this shit halfway decent. I feel like a lot of people who've been married for long periods of time, been going through shit, they just don't, the kids don't get invited into the story for whatever reason. So they don't see necessarily how you can make a 60-year joint work, a 50-year joint work, you know, because so much of the troubleshooting and problem solving is in the background. And so, and a lot of times what we just see and feel is the energy and the frustration and all of that kind of stuff. And we don't get to see it we're not involved in the process, so we don't think it works.
The inner workings.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think that shit is. I think it's just as important. How many times have you wanted to leave? Why didn't you leave? You know, what made you want to stay? What do you feel was positive about you staying? You know, like, are you glad you didn't leave? And even if you ain't glad, like, you know, what was something good about it? But at least, like, this shit don't feel good for 99% of people. But that's not because marriage, I think, is bad. I think it's because we not making the best decisions out the gate with it. I know I didn't.
You gotta make those decisions, those foolish decisions when you're younger, bro. Like, you know, better to make them then than now. Like you said, we don't have much time now. There's way more at stake.
So y'all moving in together? You see that? And you laughed right on cue too. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of traveling back and forth to
Yeah,
each
yeah.
other's places, and it makes, at this point, it makes sense.
When last time you lived with a dude?
2017,
Oh, okay.
my ex-husband.
Oh,
second wife.
okay.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Okay. And
Yeah.
y'all nervous about it? You nervous about anything?
No, I mean, he knows I'm a mess. Like, he knows what parts of me are a mess.
Okay.
And, you know, we're pretty much, you know, I'm the cook. I'm not.
Who does the salmon? Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, I do the salmon.
Because he raves about your salmon.
Yes, I do the salmon. I do the cooking. So
Okay.
I understand, you know, I'm going to be cooking. I already cook.
I love y'all energy, man. I do. I swear I do. It feels real. It feels genuine. It feels sincere. It's a great feeling to watch you too. And it's not something that I see often.
It's us. It's the reality of
Yeah.
who we are every day. I mean, like I said, from the beginning, we were like, okay, here's all my stuff. And here's all my stuff. And it was a decision. You make a conscious decision. Okay, well, this is what I want to do. I mean, he'll tell you, like, we were in a relationship that day that we met, even though I was still trying to, like, figure all that out. But yeah, no.
Shout out to him for doing that, by the way. I swear to you. That's what a man's supposed to do. We go together. Now what?
Listen.
I don't care if you say no. Like, listen.
This thing, he was like, so you got any other people you need to let know what's up? Because this is about to go down.
I love it.
And I was not ready. I was calling my girlfriend. I was like, girl, do you know what he said to me? He said something about me getting rid of everybody else just to date him.
Wait a minute. Who all was on you was out there like that?
I wasn't.
Yeah, everybody else?
Well, he just said to me, I'm about to make some phone calls and let some people know that it's a wrap and I'm just trying to see you. And he was like, so if you got to make some phone calls,
okay,
I would advise you do it. And so then I went to my girlfriends and everybody's like, what? He said, what? Wait, did you just meet this dude? What is he talking about? And it was so funny and it was so foreign to me because no one has ever had that sort of an upfront conversation with me, like in week 2.
I respect it. I respect
that because that was.
And that's some man shit.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you know what you want, thermostat and thermometer is the name of the game.
Temperature checking?
You set that motherfucker and then you tell everybody else in the room what the temperature is. We go together.
Oh yeah.
And we go together.
That's it.
Like,
I wasn't playing around, bro.
Okay.
What was it about her?
Lost. I mean, the energy first. You know, she's beautiful, of course, but that's that's the outside. But she's such a good person, and you can pick up on that fast. I know you.
Yeah.
You met her. You could pick up on that energy, and this was like our chemistry was just great from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? The chemistry was just fantastic, and it was just like something that I knew, and I'm like, well, I want to. In the beginning, it's not like I was like, we're going to be together forever. But this is something that I want to clear the way to give a complete, honest chance. Like, I don't want to meet her and then, well, I can't do dinner this weekend. How about next week? Because I got some other broad at the crib or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Because we're not official yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
you're going to play the games and shit. Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going to do that shit. So I wanted to clear the way. There's nobody in my life that and shout out to anybody who I might have been talking to, but there was nobody in my life whose value was high enough for me to not clear out the way to just go out to dinner and shit. That was it. So I was like, look, y'all might have already, I just went to use the bathroom. Y'all might talk. Look,
no, he don't, because men don't use the bathroom in my house. I gotta
make your little phone calls.
Yeah.
I'm about to go home and knock these out real quick and talk to you tomorrow.
Bro, I'm so glad I'm glad I met you, man. You are a great example in so many ways, dude. And I admire your love and your commitment to her, and for you to just speak so strongly about it, man. That shit resonates with me, dude. Like I said, I was so full of shit, and I had so much fear. It was hard for me to say certain things like that at a certain point in my life, and the fact that you own it, bro, and you give me an example of what owning shit looks like, and I need that, and I appreciate it.
All love, man. You already know. Shit.
Yeah.
Whatever you want me to come on the show and talk about some shit. You better be ready to talk about it. Fly.
What's your love language?
Quality time and food.
That ain't a damn love language, Trina. You got a chick on the same love language?
Yes, it's food. Food
Okay.
is my cooking is my love.
So is that an act of kindness?
I would think so. Yeah.
So quality time, act of kindness?
Yes.
What's yours?
Are we going according to like the actual books?
Yes.
And stuff? I don't know.
At least as close as possible. Well, what do you feel your love language is? If you were gonna just without the book.
Shit, man. Honesty. Is that one of them?
No.
No.
Never very.
Damn, because I'd be like, I'd be straight up with it. Affection.
That's a
huge,
okay.
constant affection.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I heard you talking about the gifts for Father's Day.
Oh yeah, man.
And
I learned a lot, bro.
your dad likes gifts, bro.
My dad loves
You like gifts. You just don't. You like gifts.
I love gifts. I don't like people feeling obligated to give me gifts because of a holiday. I have a thing about holidays.
But you like them though.
Do I like holidays or do I like
Gifts.
gifts? Of course, yeah, I like gifts.
Okay.
But if she knows this, like Father's Day comes and goes. If I don't get a gift, I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly
It's
fine.
so
That's the
frustrating.
difference between me and my dad. She come, let it go ahead. Go ahead.
It's so frustrating. Holidays are so frustrating in this relationship because I'm trying to figure out how to navigate all
Here's
of
the trigger.
this because here's the trigger.
He's a trigger.
He don't celebrate holidays.
So meaning you don't get her no gifts for Valentine's Day?
No, I did some shit for her.
Oh, okay.
Valentine's Day, like.
But that's out of obligation.
Oh no, not just out of obligation.
It sounds
But
like it. Sounds
I
like
give her
obligation.
gifts all the time.
He gives me gifts all the time. Let's just
I'm a
is true.
gift giver.
But sometimes it'll be like, okay, well, are we celebrating this? Aren't we celebrating this? What are we doing? Like, I have something, and sometimes I will ask, and then sometimes I was just like, oh, just fuck it. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and he just figure it out later because he's Mr. I don't celebrate holidays.
Yeah, I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm not buying anybody anything for Christmas. That's
Right.
a go. But Thanksgiving dinner with the family, shit like that.
Yeah.
But shit, we did a Halloween party. I mean, that's a pseudo holiday.
Yeah, it was.
But like, somebody telling me to be romantic on February 14th.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, this is me.
It's ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm constantly.
Yes.
I like so we like that, bro. We not going nowhere for Thanksgiving. I mean, for Christmas. I mean, what the fuck is the joint called? The Valentine's Day joint? Like, that's the worst one. So we just completely reject that 100%. But birthdays, we've gotten a lot better because neither one of us were real gifts people. But I get so fucking excited when I get a gift. I'll never tell you what I want, but when I get it, I'm like, oh, this is really fucking dope. Thank you.
Yeah, how about that?
But so we've gotten better with the birthday thing, but like Christmas and what the fuck is the other one? Valentine's Day and all of that kind of shit. We don't fuck with it.
Birthdays I'm huge on. Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily huge on, you have to do a bunch of shit for my birthday. But when it's her birthday, like I want to make her feel happy and special on her birthday, man. Like,
when's your birthday?
February 3rd.
2-3. When's yours?
March 29th.
3-2-9.
Yup. So, but yeah, man, it was funny navigating that through that episode because I realized some stuff on my trip home, and it was like she was like the way she responded here is exactly how she was. Like, yes, like she finally got her moment.
And I was glad that he went home because I felt like, oh, you're gonna give your dad that gift for Father's Day of you being home.
I didn't even look at it that way.
And I totally looked at it like that, but he didn't see it like that.
I didn't even look at like you said that afterward. I didn't even realize
but I
that.
totally was thinking like,
I'm
oh,
just
this is
going
so
home to spend
good.
time.
He's going home. That's gonna be a great gift for his dad for Father's Day.
That's funny, son. I got home on Father's Day
Yep. Yes,
and
sir.
wasn't thinking two shits about Father's Day. Mm-hmm. I was just going home to spend the week with my parents.
Yeah.
See, your spirit was calling you to. You like your spirit. You weren't conscious, but your spirit knew.
Yeah, it was something that was in the working for a while, leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we in a better space now with the holidays thing.
Yeah, I think so. You think? You know, this moving in thing, that'll be real interesting.
When is the date?
We don't know yet. We're going to deal with it when we get back from Costa Rica.
Oh, when's Costa Rica?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Next Thursday, right?
Next
Wednesday?
Okay.
Next Wednesday night. Yeah, we leave.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to that.
Well, man, I am. You ain't got to get up in front of the tribe or nothing like that. I love your love. I love y'all commitment to one another.
Thank you.
And I'm glad y'all came on. I'm glad to hear y'all say that y'all both proponents of marriage.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't pick up on that in the edit
Really?
for some reason or another. Maybe.
It probably was me.
Maybe it was my deep sigh and hesitation because my girlfriends all messaged me after.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like there is an attack on marriage.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's important to just highlight love and commitment that people are making to one another and value that as above like some of the I'm just gonna take care of me thing, like the family piece that we're talking about missing from our cousins getting together and all of that kind of stuff. It was these matriarchs and patriarchs who were old school,
Yeah.
who were the glue holding all of this shit together, and the same kind of personality that fucking perseveres and gets everybody together for a family reunion is the motherfucker who stays in a marriage for like it's synonymous with a lot of that because it keeps it's some cohesion and all of that kind of stuff there. And I don't know what that shit look like in the future for anybody or whatever, but I want to raise my hand and say I'm, pro-marriage. I don't like divorce, and even though I did it, but I didn't really do it, so it don't count.